So they remade Mincemeat Metalworks. Yippee! Does this change anything? A little bit, I guess. Let's take a look here. This is Clam Blitz. This is the mode that I have played this in for a full rotation. I was playing with a friend, and we made it our goal to see if we could KO on Clam Blitz Mincemeat Metalworks. Because the problem with this map up until this point has been that you can barely score. Never in my career as a Splatoon player have I ever seen so many Clam Blitz matches go to a scoreless draw. I think it happened one time the entire time that I was playing Splatoon 2. And then within like less than a year of playing Splatoon 3, it had happened to me 3 or 4 times on specifically just Mincemeat Metalworks and no other map in the game. This area where the clam basket is was just too defensible. It was too easy. Even you could go 2 players down, but then 1 player watched this side and 1 player watched this side, and they were able to stall a 4-player team unless that 4-player team used specials in the 4v2 to be able to get up onto plat. That was how disgusting this was on defense. And I am happy to report that we scored, both teams scored multiple times in most of the games. I am unhappy to report that we did not succeed in ever KOing in the 2-hour session. Granted, some of those games were on another map, but still. This map is still a problem, and the main reason that it was a problem before is still a problem now. It is mid. Mid has one new thing: the pole. All hail the pole, I guess. Now, the nice thing about this pole is that it lets you get up onto mid quicker. Why would you want to get up onto mid quicker? Tentombrella players, put your hands back down. Exactly. There's gonna be a backliner over there somewhere, and if not there, then probably over here. They're gonna see you, and you're gonna get splatted. So it's maybe a way to like get onto the enemy side over here that's they can't just like pre-fire by looking this way. So maybe that's something, but doesn't do an awful lot for you. Gives you some paintable turf right here and a little bit of cover, not a very substantial amount, but you can at least refill ink right here. So again, the Tentombrellas are going to be really happy with this. But the overall problem with the map still hasn't really changed. Like, the biggest issue that I always had with this map was, how do you get from your side to their side? You have 3 options. One of them is dropping off here and having no cover out in the open. This guy is still going to shoot you for doing that. Anyone here with longer range than you is still going to do that. So this little bit of cover here is nice, but you have to land and then swim to it, usually across enemy ink, and if they see you over here, you're probably splatted before you ever get that far. They've made this... I mean, it's kind of fun to, like, squid roll around here and do stuff like this now, which is, like, that's neat, and that's going to make the fights around here more interesting. But it has not changed the fundamental fact that going from this side to this side still sucks. You can go through mid, where you are on low ground, and there was already a piece of cover here on a lot of modes, so nothing has changed on that front. It is still a kill zone. You're still in broad view of that E-leader right there, and as soon as you peek over here, you'd better have somebody else who's drawing attention. Like, this right here is literally the most aggressive that you really want to be if you are a frontline weapon, and that's without the clan. Like this, and then wait to see how many things are trying to shoot at you from there, and then maybe your teammate tries to sprint across or fire a special at the player who's turning to look at you. Like, that's the level of caution that you need to traverse mid here. And that's it. because this entire left-hand area is impossible to traverse, which also makes it so that if you did drop on the right-hand side and you decide, you know what, I don't like this, I want to go home. Too bad, kid, you're stuck at that sleepover. It's just 2 ways across mid, and they're both really, really dangerous. And they're both watched by the same E-leader position, which you cannot contest except by already having traversed mid. If you traverse mid and get over here, then yeah, you can stop it. If you traverse mid and you get over here, you can stop it. But how do you do those things? How do you get rid of them? You need to use just an inordinate amount of resources to get somebody off of that point. That problem remains. They've nerfed it a little bit. You know, they keep trying to put things in that player's way, but that's still not going to stop a Charger player from being able to just do this. This is an easy shot. There needs to be someone dropping there and someone dropping like directly down here and already shooting at you. And if there's someone directly down here and already shooting at you, well, why weren't they stopped? You're probably at a numbers disadvantage if that's happening. So, more happened, like I said, in the way of scoring, but that problem still remains, and that problem makes it so that it is still not a map that I super duper recommend for competitive map lists. But it's better now, and it's probably worth experimenting with, even if we know that it's bad, just so we know how bad it is and whether any of the different modes are salvageable. Let's talk about what was good, though, that changed. So first of all, like I mentioned before, if you drop outright, you do have this now for a little bit of cover. It's not a ton of cover, but it is something. We will take whatever we can get, because there was once nothing. So that's not bad. This being a ramp is a massive improvement, probably the biggest improvement over the entire map, because this used to be a block that you had to paint the side of, climb up, and then jump across. Whereas now, you can just smoothly... you can just smoothly swim your way up for the score, or swim your way up for the flank. Use the elevation difference as a little bit of cover, because from here I can hit that player, but from this player's perspective, they might shoot over my head if they don't aim very precisely. So it's a little bit safer to try and use this. I can drop into this if I need to stall for a little bit of time, and I can still hit some shots over the top while I'm doing that. So this is just a massive buff to offense on this map. It takes a lot more attention to defend the left-hand side now, and part of that is also because this thing is blocking your view and your shots. You'd love to be able to just hit someone coming from that way, but if you're going to do this, you're going to expose yourself a lot more. And so a lot of the time you're defending, you're kind of doing this, and you can't see perfectly what's going on down in this area, and they can kind of use that to their advantage. So that makes it a little bit more possible to score. Also makes it a lot easier for a Kraken to get into the basket, unfortunately, and so that's probably going to be one of the premier strategies for doing it. It's just like you activate Kraken here, and then you just get to go up, and what do? You're just going to be able to score that way. So that's an unfortunate aspect of the design of the game at the moment, but that's probably how this is going to play out realistically. This area is about the same as it was. There's this little thing now that you can use for like a little bit of something, like trying to take cover here. Even a straight line of sight weapon is probably going to be able to hit this, but it's not nothing like you used to have. And you're also still able to do this fun little squid roll. One of the things that I do like about Mincemeat is how many of the walls are paintable and how many different orientations they put them in. Like I mentioned from this part here earlier, think about like how many areas on the map of anywhere actually look like this, where you have like the ability to like wall jump from one wall to another. If there, something like that. Like you can paint 3 different sides of this wall, and one of them is really useful for being able to do this cool squid roll onto the grates. So it's like, in some ways, this map uses the unique geometry and the unique mechanics of Splatoon 3 better than other maps. But it has mid. That is still very difficult to traverse. This is still an E-Leader's paradise. They haven't done enough to change that. One other nice little thing that they've done for the defending team is that they have made this area right here a lot more difficult for the attacking team to shoot at. So you can kind of check under here while you're still backed up, see where they're hiding underneath this ledge. We've also given you the ability to do this if you really want to. I believe this wasn't here before. So there are a couple of things. There's also this right here, which is a little bit different. That area isn't as relevant in this mode because the attacking team can't actually get there unless they go all the way around on the left. So it's not going to have a super huge impact here. But you also have a little bit of this out here. So you can get some high ground on the attacking team from this angle if you really want to. This is actually a pretty decent Zuka spot for hitting the left truck area. So I have used it for that or for clearing the grates in the past. It's an angle that they're not as likely to be looking at. So that's Clam Blitz. Overall, definitely an improvement, but not a very big one. It's still Mincemeat Metalworks. It still has most of the core problems that map always had. And even though we're scoring a little bit more than we used to, it's still not a great competitive map design. And I would still probably not want to see it run. So I'm going to skim through the other ones really quickly because I just haven't had a chance to play on any of the others yet. But we'll go and see what the differences are, highlight those, and we'll talk about what I think the implications are going to be for them. So Splat Zones is not going to be very different. The biggest change on the Clam Blitz map was there being a ramp here, and in Zones, we don't have that. We haven't had any way to get up here before, and we're not going to get one now. So the only way to the enemy side is still going across this bridge, which means you probably have to wipe the entire team while being this far forward. So you win a fight to get the zone, then you go basically nowhere, you win another fight, and you can finally get someone over the top here, and then you can start really locking out. But they're going to have more ways to come out on that side now, so I think the fight over here is going to be a little more interesting, because I think that area across the way didn't used to be there. So it's possible that the attacking team maybe is able to pinch this area down here a little better than they used to be. But snipe is pretty much the same. This area is not super important because in Splat Zones you're probably not going to push that far up unless you're already like about to KO. This area down here doesn't have a huge impact. This is a little bit more cover than you used to have. It's a little bit defender favored in that you've got this block that you can paint while still being here. But it is still something nice for someone who's dropping over to be able to hide behind and maybe work their way around. But very, very minor changes. Pole is probably one of the more significant ones, honestly, for this mode, which means that there isn't much that's going to be that different here. It's still going to be Mincemeat Zones. Tower control changes are also mostly very minor. The biggest difference now is that this area here does still exist, like it did in Zones in Clam Blitz. And you can see here, it's actually attacking team favored. This wall is paintable. No other part of it is paintable. You can't paint from back here. You can't even paint this. Even the defending team has to jump to be able to get up onto this part of it. So this gives attackers a way to get up and get close to the enemy team, aside from just kind of throwing a special out in front of them and diving in here. But one thing that they also did was make it impossible to get on top of the bus here. In other versions of the map, you were able to jump up on top of this yellow thing and then use that to get up over the side. But now, this area right here is one of the nastiest choke points in the entire game. Like this, you've got walls on either side of you, unpaintable wall, unpaintable turf next to an unpaintable wall. You've just got to go up this way. People double fizzying this area is going to be disgusting. And you can use the tower, and the tower probably lets you jump across. I'll go and test that real quick. But the tower probably lets you jump across, but like that still means that the tower either has to be frontlining, or your frontliners have to really just pile drive their way through that choke point. I don't know that I really like that change. I would prefer that people still be able to get over on the right. So, still very much mincemeat tower control. I'm still not feeling very much different about it. Yeah, this is totally jumpable. So, you can make it across this way. You can make it across to here if you want to, but there's just no cover up there either. So, this sort of thing is about the best you're going to hope for. But strong players are just going to be pre-firing you on your way in. So you're going to need a Booyah Bomb or missiles or something to get through this. This is really, really rough for the attacking team. Should make it a little bit less snowbally once it gets to that point, I guess, and maybe that was something that they were trying to accomplish. But that's going to be a pretty hard stop, I think, in a lot of tower pushes. One thing I will give them credit for on the tower control map, and the Rainmaker as well, is that on this map in the past, it has been kind of prohibitively difficult a lot of the time to actually take the objective, in some cases where you would normally be able to play it, because it always spawns up on top in the middle of this grate. But now that the pole is here, in tower control, you actually have a bona fide Squid Surge use case for getting up all the way through quickly. But even if you're not going to do that, it's just a really quick, easy way for the objective player to run up and grab it as soon as you've got some kind of advantage that you want to push with. You'll still have to pop the Rainmaker, obviously, but once you do, instead of having to go all the way over to the side and then come all the way back to be able to grab it, and then you drop it down, that amount of time is really dangerous to spend. You can just swim up, grab it, be down here, and you could be pushing a lot faster than you could before. So that is one really massive advantage of the pole. The pole is actually one of the big winners of the mode. It's not just a meme. It is genuinely a very good thing to have that paintable block there in mid, especially for those two modes. Less so for the others, because that's a much less important area of the map on the other modes. But again, you know, Tentebrella players will probably get some use out of it. Maybe some, like, Splatlings who are trying to walk across. One weird little tower path change that might actually be pretty significant here is that you can still jump from the tower across to here, but I believe in the past there used to be a way that you could jump from the tower up to here on the other side. And now the tower path is a little bit further in this direction, so that now you can't make that jump. I might be misremembering, but I think that that is a difference. And I think that generally, it kind of goes both ways. Because on one hand, the defending team would be able to jump onto the tower from there and stop it. But on the other hand, that was a way that the attacking team could actually get control of this area, because getting control of that area is really difficult when you don't even have this really crappy bridge on this side to be able to get across. So if the only way that you can approach that area is either from here or by sending some like crazy flank in all the way down here to get around to that, that's going to make it a lot harder for the attacking team to move forward. And that seems to kind of be the general idea, because this area here is also more difficult to traverse. I don't know how much I like that, because this already was a map where it's difficult to go from one side to the other just to get a push going in the first place. It's just a generally very defense-favored map, and making it so that it's more difficult to attack this spot, I don't know if that's going to be better for the mode, but that does seem to me to be like a relatively minor thing. You do still have this to work with, and this is something that your team can take better advantage of when you're pushing. You can kind of do this sort of thing and use that. Maybe even get like a backliner set up over here and have them anchoring and sticking in this corner and trying to take shots from there. So, I don't know. It seems kind of a wash to me. Like, there are definitely changes here, but I think overall they end up kind of canceling out a little bit and not really giving too much of an advantage one direction or another. Rainmaker map is like really, really, really similar to the tower control layout. Like very little of it is different, but there is one major change that I do like a lot, which is that up here, remember, we could only get up here using the tower. Well, now we've got this wall, which is paintable on 3 sides. So you can get on this side right here and have cover all the way up as you're climbing, and then pop up when you want to. And that can be a way that you get up over the top and start to control this and lock this down for your Rainmaker carrier. Same deal on this area as before. Only side that it's paintable on is over here. And this could be like a decent like Rainmaker carrier spot. So you've got your frontliners out in front of you, and then the Rainmaker kind of has high ground and the ability to lob shots over the top from a safer distance until it's time to move. Then maybe you climb it up here, or you try to sneak it through here using this wall as cover. So not a lot super different. Like the left side looks pretty much identical, except again for this part jutting out a little bit more like it does in the other modes. But that is at least a nice improvement over the tower control layout, that we've got that paintable wall right there. Otherwise, same changes. Block here. All hail the mincemeat pole. It's not got the full pole on it, but it does have the base of it, so that's something, I guess. So it's not a huge difference. I will still advocate against this map being played very much competitively, except for, in the early stages of just trying it out. Clam Blitz, I think, has by far the biggest improvement. I do kind of like Rainmaker a little bit more. I like these, this block being here. I like the middle being changed. I think those are, generally good changes, but that they're very, very small changes, and that they're not going to really fix the major underlying problems of the map. So, overall, slight improvements to Clam Blitz, slighter improvement to Rainmaker. Tower control and zones feel basically the same. Not that much is going to be too very different about those two. I don't know. It's been the worst stage in the game, and so it was going to take a lot in order for them to really fix it. And they've done a little rather than a lot. That's my take overall. Still, happy to have the fixes. It's not bad that we have them. Just, I would have wanted more if we're really going to rework the map. Because what we have right now, in terms of competitive play, is rather dreadful.